So, our next guest is an actor, writer, director, and professional stuntman, starring in TV and films such as CSI, The Mentalist, Private Practice, Snowfall, 911, Big Little Lies, General Hospital, Little Fires Everywhere, The Call of the Wild, and appearing in sketch comedy routines on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and Conan. He's performed stunts for everything from American Horror Story and Arrested Development to The Young and the Restless. You may recognize him from Us as Don, aka What the get off my car guy. We are pleased to have Lon Gowan with us today. Thank you very much, Lon.
Our pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So, your interest in acting and theater began in high school in Vermont, which you credit your cultivation to the town you lived in being a place that both appreciated and supported theater and provided outlets to pursue acting. Can you tell us about your early years, what it was like getting into acting in an environment that mirrored your enthusiasm for the craft?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate. There was a very small private school. And when I say very small private school, the largest graduating class I think they had was 10 people, and the smallest was three. So there's about 50 people in the whole school. But the teachers who had kind of started this way of education, this all kind of um, don't know what the best way to describe it is, but every class kind of interconnected and intertwined. So if we were doing something in the arts, somehow it connected to something we were doing in the science. We also had large breaks where we might take 3 weeks and just do an intensive study on one particular thing. So we might take a group of 10 people down to New York City for a week and study theater and go to some of the big libraries there and be able to look and see, study different things that weren't available to us in a small town in Vermont. And so this kind of classroom system allowed me as an eighth grader to perform with seniors in high school, with people who've been doing it for 5 or 6 years. So it already created this kind of environment where um, you there's an expectation for younger people to step up, and there's an expectation for older people to help them reach. So I feel like the foundation for professionalism was already ingrained in me because that was the expectation of having to do that way. So it's pretty interesting way of going to school and learning, and it cultivated that appreciation for the arts and for understanding that art and science and math and even business all have the same kind of trial and error learning curve to them. You have to be willing to give it effort and fail to see what the next step is. You can't just expect every time you do something to get it right. And the same thing with sports. Sports has very much the same thing. The first time you take a free throw, you're going to completely miss everything. But only by doing it over and over again do you get really good at taking free throws. So
Al-
I think the same thing happens with math and art and things like that.
al-
So
Almost sounds like a successful failure is what you're talking about. You learn from the
exactly.
mistakes. I mean, and just as a segue, you talked about that town, that small town in Vermont. One of the things I want to ask you, as some people know, making that jump to move from that town in Vermont to LA to pursue Hollywood, it's a gamble. Let's be honest with you, it's a gamble. Talk to me what it was like about that transition, and furthermore, especially with the town you were in Vermont that focused in on theater. Now you're in the epicenter of film and television. So what was the night and day like? What was the transition like?
Well, I was fortunate that I went to college in Boston for a short time, and then I went to State College in Vermont. And again, a real emphasis on theater and acting. And then I met somebody who had been doing stunt work, and got to talk to them. Thought, oh, that's a neat thing as an athlete to be able to use both my acting and um, s- my athletic ability to do that. But I was also, and it's interesting that you say that, I was completely naive about what it is that is film and television, what it is to be Hollywood. Get off the bus and go, hey, here I am. Where do I sign up to be in the pictures? And that's not how it works. But that's part of the willingness to um, show up and dedicate yourself and be there for uh, the long haul. The hustle is the thing. I when people talk about success, for me, success is getting up every morning and putting the work, putting the effort in towards the goal, towards the ambition. The job is the reward. The job um, is what you get out of that, but it's not the actual success. And so, coming from Vermont, where I see farmers get up every day and do the work, or I see kids who come to school after milking all day and they go home after school and work the farm and then come back for an 8 o'clock basketball practice. That's success. It didn't matter if we won the game or not. We showed up. And we were actually pretty good. We're a good school. But you know, that's what success is, and you learn that really, really early, coming from a small community like that. That the guy who runs the gas station or the general store, or what it takes to run those businesses or be an entrepreneur in a place like that, is the hustle. You know, and so I think that's what, when I came out here, I didn't think about what could happen. I thought about what it was I was going to do to make something happen. Whether it happened or not, I was going to apply it, and I was going to do it, and I was going to do the work to do that. So,
As they say, anything worth having is worth working for, and I definitely take that sentiment from what you said there.
Yeah.
But before you made the move out to LA and took the plunge full time into acting, you had a series of odd jobs. It mentions in your bio. What would you say was the strangest odd job you had during that chapter?
Man. I started working at 13, so I was working as a dishwasher in a diner at 13, and then just started working from there. I worked on farms. I worked on a Christmas tree farm, which is pretty odd, because one just thinks you plant a tree and that's it. But every year you have to go out and you have to shape a tree. And so here I am at 15 years old with a very long blade in my hand, just swinging at trees and shaping. That's how we shape them, is we just go through like a machete and just make these nice little shaped trees. And every year they grow and they get a little wild, and you shape them back down. And it's a long summer of shearing trees. I don't know if it's the oddest job, but it's certainly one of the hardest I've had. Let's see, I delivered laundry to resort towns, including up to the Trapp Family Lodge, and met Maria von Trapp, which is kind of a kind of a cool thing. But you know, there she is, and yeah, so just lots of different stuff. Bartended, and when I came out here, I sold shoes in the Beverly Center. You know, it's just whatever it takes to, you know. The job wasn't my career. The job wasn't, you know, the job was what I needed to do to get to where I want to go. So that when I finally was working as a professional actor and a professional stuntman, I was there. I was able, but I didn't have to ever worry about money or what was going to pay the bills, because I was always working.
And between 97 and 2000, you were, of course, on Jay Leno. And then from 2000, was it 9 to 2011, you were working with Conan. Talk to us about, you know, like you say, now you're starting to see that breakthrough, and improv is clearly a big thing. And, you know, now you can take those theater skills and hone them in. It's like you're in Hollywood, but you're not necessarily doing a film. But now you're appearing in sketches, which is all about improvisation, all about timing, things of that nature. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I came out here. One of the things that's always fun is you come out to Hollywood, and inevitably somebody will tell you, "Oh, you got a great look for commercials." You know, so when I came out here in the right in the early '90s, you know, I was right in that pocket, and they said, "Oh, you got a great look for commercials." But I didn't realize they tell everybody that. Everybody's got a great look for commercials, right? It's just, that's, you know, so the everyman kind of thing. But one of the things I was lacking was really good improv skills. So I went down to Second City and started studying with Dick Shaw and Louis Arquette and Avery Shriver and some of the really great kind of improv guys. And I learned a lot of stuff really, really quick, which then allowed me to kind of start switching over into sketch comedy and doing that kind of thing. So that when there was an opportunity to do a bit on the Jay Leno show, do a couple cowboy sketches, and then another bit there. It was really, really fun to be able to know what that is, know what the goal is of what sketch is, and be able to play with that and create that. And then through friends, I knew the casting director over Conan. So when Conan was at The Tonight Show, I actually was on the first episode of The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. He did a sketch, and I was a delivery guy. I just walked out and delivered some stuff, you know. but it was really, really fun. And then he switched over to the other show, and I got to do a whole bunch of sketches there, just because they try and use the same people. If you watch the show a bunch, it's a lot of the same people. They're very familiar faces, and I get very comfortable with those people. So both myself and my wife and a bunch of my close friends have all worked on Conan. It's just such a great place to go and go work. And they really value people who have the ability to create funny, who understand comedy, and who do that. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm sure it helps that you can perform the physical comedy too.
Absolutely. Yeah. What my favorite one was they do the mascots who can't dunk sketch on Conan, which is absolutely funny. And there was a bit where I was Franklin D. Roosevelt has a surprise, and I come out in a wheelchair as Franklin Roosevelt being pushed by a nurse. And then she pulls the blanket off my lap and hands me a basketball. And I get up out of the wheelchair and I run and I try and dunk. And of course, I fail miserably. And it was hysterical to see Franklin Roosevelt get up out of a wheelchair and try and dunk a basketball. But it was a little too up there for what the rest of the kids. There was a salad bar dunking at the same time, so it's kind of the wrong. So they ended up cutting it right when we were about to shoot. They said, "Yeah, we're cutting Franklin Roosevelt." Yeah, but it was one of the funniest bits. It just killed me, and it killed Conan too. But it just didn't fit the other mascots that were there. So it kind of it got a. But it's fun. I played Roosevelt a bunch of times on that show.
Getting the job as a stunt double and standing in, was there any like prerequisites that had to go into play before you got on a roof and slid down and did that for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I had already been doing some training, so it wasn't just like, I can just fall and land. So I already knew how to high fall. I already knew how to do that stuff. So in order to kind of let the producers know, they called up the stunt coordinator who said, yeah, this guy can do this. I had been going down to Connecticut. They had a Western town down there that they did. Some of the guys from old Tucson had come out there and built a little Western town. So I would get shot on one roof, fall off, land on a small roof, and then roll down that and fall under the dirt. And so I could do those kind of things. So this was actually relatively easy to just kind of slide down snow and hit a snowbank. Maybe it's a 4 or 5 foot fall, much easier than what I had been doing.
You also write and direct. You're in a theater group. You have a show called Centasia. It's going into its 21st year. You actually have a virtual holiday special coming up in December. I saw a preview for on your page.
We can't do it live. Yeah.
Can you tell us, is that something that anybody can attend? And also just if you can give us like a little preview of what Centasia is.
Sure. It's a multimedia sketch comedy performance. It's similar to Kids in the Hall, Carol Burnett Show, and Living Color. A little bit of Saturday Night Live. We don't get political in this show. It's really based all around the holidays and people's experience. There's some kind of poignant moments. People kind of share, the performers in the show share some of their holiday memories kind of in short little vignettes, and then the rest is kind of sketch comedy and musical parody. There's 6 stunt guys. Well, I think 5 of us are stunt guys, and that do this. And we're not necessarily musical theater people. I mean, we do it, but none of us are gonna go to Broadway to be musical theater people. But yet somehow it really, really works. It's really, really fun. There's a silliness to it, and yet a really endearing quality. And we become part of a lot of people's Christmas. And we even get people who show up to the show who say, "I hate Christmas. It's my least favorite holiday. I just hate this time of year." And yet you guys address that for me. You make it okay for me to not like Christmas and come here and enjoy that, because that's part of what we talk about is those kind of things. So we'll do everything from parodies from Chorus Line. We have a bit from Hamilton in there that we do. That's very funny, because there's no reason any one of us should be trying to rap, but we do it, and it's actually really good. We also do film parodies. If you go on our website, you can see those. And then we have some brilliant claymation that is done by a man by the name of Michael Granberry, who's won multiple Emmy Awards for his work on um, uh, Robot Chicken and um, those types of shows. Right now, he's up in Northern California working on a feature, a stop motion feature. And he's just super talented, and he's a fan of ours, and we're able to get him to create some stuff for us. The one that's Pulp Fiction done in claymation is really, really funny. So yeah.
Speaking of coming up on 21-year anniversaries, we did a little research, a little deep dive in here, and congratulations on you and your wife. You're coming up on 21 years. You and Miss Julie Dowen, who is also an actress herself. You guys are coming up on 21 years, so two decades plus one. First and foremost, you've clearly credited her as being the driving forces, like to a lot of your success. And one of the questions I had with her being an actress, and of course you being an actress, well, talk to us about the balance between, of course, the schedules, how demanding it can be and straining just on one spouse being an actor and actress. And now we have two. It's a lot of ego in the bedroom, a lot of ego everywhere. How do you guys do it, man?
Well, I think that's a great question. My wife is standing right over here working on some voiceover auditions that she was doing. I think one of the things that's really, really important, and we actually talked about it, is that we're not competitive with each other. That this is a team. We're working together. So her success when she books something is my success, and it's because the hard work that we both and same the other way. So we don't really look at it in terms of that way. There might be a period of time where she's booking and she also does music and she's gigging all the time and she's doing stuff. And I might go through a spell where I'm not even getting an audition. And that's fine. That's great. She's doing it. That's the hustle. That's the work. And so we're always looking at how we can support each other's goals and each other's ambitions. That if we throw it all at one person or if we ignore the other person, it just doesn't work. So there's room for me to support her bands or her voiceover work or her acting work or any number of other talents that she has. And so and her likewise, I'm working this week. And so her and I own a business together as well. And so she's got to go take care of the business and she's got to watch the dog and she's got to because I'll be on set all day. And I don't know what my call time is or when I'll be back, but she's already said, okay, I got it. I got it taken care of. So that's really, really nice. Yeah.
You have been performing stunts for as long as you've been acting. What would you say is the craziest stunt that you've been asked to perform?
Well, craziest, I would say, hanging. We did a thing for 911 where I was about 115 feet up in the air on a bosun's chair, which is just a board with a couple ropes on it. And it's with the guys, the old style window washers. They would just sit on the little thing. You would also see, steel workers kind of working on it. And we rigged it with a quick release where you just pull it and one side would fall. And so I would fall and then catch and be hanging by one leg. So I'm hanging upside down and you kind of swing and bang into the building a little bit. And it's this really cool scene in 911. And they're really known for doing a lot of big gags on that show. The stunt coordinator was the season that I worked the most was Liam Neeson's stunt double. And so worked in coordinator and worked a lot in features. And so was able to create these kind of really cool things. And so for me to go up there and to be up there. And so I'm on Avenue of the Stars in Century City, hanging upside down just by one leg. I'm on two different wires attached to two different points, attached to two different things. So if something does go wrong, it's not catastrophic.
With something like that, like what's beneath you?
Just the pavement. Yeah, there's just nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. There's because you can't put something underneath because the shot is you're hanging up over top of it. But again, I'm on two different wires on two different pick points. So if one failed somewhere, the other one's still there, and that gives you enough time to get me down from where I am.
So you said you were on two different wires, because what I'm hearing is me and you are on two different wavelengths. Because I'm going to tell you this, I've been wanting to act my whole life, but let me tell you something. While you just said there's a lot of people there to make sure things don't go wrong, what I was hearing, there are that many more witnesses to tell people what happened to me as it did go wrong. So kudos to you. Because I'm speaking of that, let me ask you a question. If we were to put an X-ray up there on the board, the doctor's in the room, you've been doing stunt work for a long time. What are some of the most serious, and hopefully there haven't been any too many that are serious, or have there been any serious injuries as you've done the stunt work?
Yes, and yes, and
You can speak
yes.
about, because clearly there's some litigation pending somewhere.
I mean, I've certainly broken things, and I've certainly had to have shoulder surgery and things like that. But it's, if you're an accountant, you get paper cuts. If you're a boxer, you get punched in the nose. If you're a football player, you're going to get knee injuries. So part of what we do is we get banged up and we get bruised up. But the normal is that we know we're going to take a hit, we know we're going to get bruised up, and we know we're going to get sore, but we're going back to work tomorrow. So we try and mitigate all of that to not have those things happen. There are some instances where there's big gags where you go, this might be a tough one. But most of the day is, going over the handlebars of a bicycle. You got to figure out how to be able to do it 5, 6, sometimes even 10 times. So you can't just wreck every time. You got to figure it out so that you can keep doing it. And so we really don't get the big injuries necessarily doing the gag, but we do get lots of strains and pulled muscles, or fatigue injuries happen a lot. As simple as stepping down a stairs, after a 12-hour day, you might roll something, you might pull something, but the gags themselves, your head's on a swivel, you're really, really thinking about it, and accidents do happen, but there truly are accidents, in that we don't try and pound the ground that hard. We try and figure out how to do it so we can get up and do it again and do it again and do it again.
I was just going to ask, it sounds like, how do you even train yourself to go over handlebars or fall? It seems just like the more you do it, the more reputation, like, don't fall like this or you'll injure yourself like that.
I'd love to be his neighbor. Like, there's Lon again.
Just doing line things, line on the line.
But there's guys who grew up, either they're gymnasts or they're high divers. They grew up diving. So they got tons and tons of reps on a 30-meter board. So they just have this wonderful air sense. Or gymnasts tend to know how to do it. The guys that work over at Cirque du Soleil came out of those kind of dance and gymnastics and that type of stuff. So that air sense is really, really great. I've never had the opportunity to do that. But now I've done thousands and thousands of 30-foot high falls. That's just a lot. But once you start going up higher, there's guys that did 80-foot cliff dives. They go to do the Acapulco cliff diving, and they're fantastic at it. And they also make great high fallers, because landing on your feet or landing on your back is really that different for them. That's the guy you call for that. So, and a bunch of us, and it's not like people can't do it. It's not like I couldn't do it, but again, we mitigate risk. So why put myself in a position where there is somebody else who's really, really good at it and really, really capable? And part of our job is not just to protect ourselves and the actors and the people around us, but it's also to protect the producers from injury and liability and stoppage and that kind of stuff. So we want to make sure that we don't overestimate our ability just for a gag, just for a gig, just to say we did it. That doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help us either, especially if you can't end up doing it. So.
You were the stunt double for Tony Hale and Will Arnett on Arrested Development, and I love that show. I love so many of the actors on it, so I'm really interested to know what it was like working with that casting crew. And I noticed, like, on the time you spent on there, you were there before and after their transition to Netflix, and I was just curious if there was any like noticeable changes in that transition.
Well, both those guys have regular doubles, and I was fortunate in that for what they were doing, those guys weren't available. So it kind of made it really, really fun for me. So I got to work a couple days doubling Will, and it was when he was being the magician. And he had the big volcano. I don't know if you know the show, but he's got the big volcano, and he's going to do this disappearing act, and he ends up getting trapped inside the volcano. So when they did the drop, so it's just a trap door kind of fall thing. So I spent 2 days practicing a trapdoor to make sure it looked right, so I was hanging out on the set. But it was interesting because it was um, a location set, and it was small because they were just doing the volcano, so it wasn't a really big shoot. It felt really, really small, and where they were, lots of dialogue, just all in the same location. Nobody moved around and anything. So 2 days just right there in the spot. When I doubled Tony Hale, we went out to the beach, and it's in the recent season when he's inside the big bubble out on the ocean. So he's in that and he's running. So the first scene is me and a buddy of mine, and we're trying to make this thing move out on the water, and it's just ridiculous because we're in full clothes trying to run in one of these bubbles, and it's like being in a washing machine. It just tumbles you over and over. But that was a huge day because they had 3 units shooting, and they're shooting any portion of 4 or 5 episodes because they did so much there at the beach. And that was a couple days down there too. And that ended up just being an absolute blast working that, because there were just so many people and so spread out and shooting different scenes, and they would move the camera from one location while setting up the other location, and you could watch that. And it was a big couple of days for everything that they were doing.
I want to ask this. I don't too often get jealous of other actors. I mean, you hands down, you have it as a stuntman. But as one thing when I was doing my research when we found out we were going to be interviewing you was the fact that you did some stunts on American Horror Story. When the one episode that you did the stunts on was directed by Angela Bassett, who's an all-time favorite of mine. So that's what the jealousy comes from. Right, exactly. There you go. Exactly. All hail the queen. So with that being said, tell us what it was like. What was your experience? Did you have any direct interaction? What was it like working under her for that episode?
So I got hired by the stunt coordinator, stunt coordinator from 911, and said, "Hey, it's this thing. We need you to big emotional thing, lots of acting in it, and then we're going to shoot you in the head." So it wasn't a big stunt day, but there was a bunch of acting in it. But they still needed to do a squib and blood. But it was going to be a long day of me crying and sobbing and doing that. And I got my call sheet and I looked, and there's Angela Bassett's name on it, and I love her. I think she's great, and I always have. And now I'm thinking, okay, this is serious now, because I can't. and we get there, and now I'm on set, and I'm standing there, I'm looking where they are, and they're doing the whole cult thing, and this is the Branch Davidian cult that they have set up there, and it's already creepy, and I can even see the cameras, and it's already creepy enough, and I can see Angela Bassett, and she kind of turns, and she looks, and I can't. She's so beautiful, I can't even look her in the eyes. I just kind of look away and just can't, because I can't even. I never get starstruck, and yet for some reason, I couldn't, and I'm like, okay, I gotta really. I really admire her work, and I admire her ability, and I got to get this done. So now I start getting really focused into this. So we get closer, and finally we're going to shoot this thing, and they get, okay, you're going to be here, and you're the guy that's pleading for your life and doing this. So I start preparing, and I'm thinking, Angela Bassett's watching me. I've got to really bring this, and she thinks I'm just a stunt guy and all this. So I start preparing, and now I'm crying, and I got the snot bubbles and the whole thing, and I'm all there, and I've got my head down like this, and all of a sudden somebody comes over and touches me on the shoulder, and I hear this voice, and it says, "Okay, when the camera comes around, I want you to cut." And she goes, "Oh, you're preparing. I'm sorry," and she walks away. And so now in my head, I'm thinking, this is the greatest moment as an actor, that Angela Bassett comes over and goes, "Oh, you're preparing. I'm sorry," and walks away. But I can't revel in it, because as soon as I do, I'll dry all up and think, "Oh, I'm hot shit," and all this stuff. So I got to just kind of put that away and just go back and do my work and go back. And so it's really, really fun. It was just an absolutely great day and a great moment. And she was wonderful, and loved what we did. I had another friend who was working on that, who did a great job. And she's the girl that looks up at David Koresh character, and so I love you, and then gets shot in the head, and it's just so heart-wrenching that she does this, and yeah. So, and then at the end of the day, it's like, thank you so much, I gotta go. So so it was really, really fun, and it felt absolutely great, and it's actually a really good moment to kind of reflect on and go, That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. And that's kind of part of the arrival of feeling comfortable enough on a set to go, this is what I need to do my job. And I don't care that it's her. I need to do my job. I need to
Sure.
not go, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'll do that. No, stay focused. Don't worry about that. That'll come later, And so
Bobcat Goldthwait's movie, God Bless America. I want to
yeah,
talk about this for a minute because I saw this movie a few years back and I was just amazed at how I had not heard about it before. I accidentally stumbled upon it. It's so underappreciated. It's kind of like in the vein of Fallen Down's a terminally ill guy, hell
yeah,
bent mission to rid the world of terrible people. He's got the catch in with this though that makes it special is he's got an accomplice that's like a teenage girl. It makes the whole concept very interesting. But what was it like working with Bobcat on that?
I've known Bob for quite some time. His brother is a first AD. And a friend of mine, and actually, when I came out to Hollywood before I started working, I worked again. I had been a PA in Vermont, so I started working as a PA here, and he was a first that I met. And I did a whole bunch of movies and TV shows uh, with his brother, with Jim, and so I got to know Bob. And so when this movie came up, Jim was firsting for him and said, "Hey, I got a guy for this." So they needed a stunt guy who could act. So I'm the guy in the theater who, when they show up at the big climax at the end, decides I'm not going to stay here and get shot, so I'm going to make a break for it. And as I do, I get shot in the back or shot in the head, and blood splatters all over the wall, and I go down. So, but I've known him for a while, and he's just um, creative, and his set is kind of really cool and flowing, and he kind of thinks about, he already knows what he's going to do, but he's really really open to um, seeing what happens. It's kind of like how his stand up is. I know what I'm going to do, but if something happens and if something is organic and it's there, um, and so watching that process and being there and seeing him do that with the other actors, even with me, of going, "Hey, let's try this, let's do that," and doing it a couple different ways. It's kind of liberating, and it's really really fun. But he's a genius, and when you just sit around and go bowling with him or have a beer with him or whatever, it's his understanding of comedy and his understanding of um, life and art combined is really really brilliant, and it's really fun to listen to him.
One of the things, first off, he's a legend. We both consider Bobcat Goldthwait a absolute legend. One of the things
Yeah,
you're a stunt man, and like I said, it's kind of always kind of hard to find all the stunts that you've done. But one of the stunts, the biggest stunt I think you've ever done was on the ground, and because that's why we reached out to you for the movie Us, and you played Don, and the courage you showed to walk out that time of night to see a young teenage black girl standing on your car, and you in nothing but your Fruit of the Loom briefs walk toward her and say, "Come here, get out, talk to me." And just to see that courage you displayed in the 2000s era that we live in, man, how'd you do it? Talk to us about you and Us, how you got cast, man, and talk to us about the whole process and everything of working on that project.
that was fun. That was really really nice. I got the call. They wanted a stunt person who could act, because I got to get stabbed and go to the ground. They weren't sure how they were going to shoot it. They knew he got stabbed in the Achilles, and my Achilles gets ripped out, is what happens to me. So I don't actually die, but but it's hard to tell the way it ended up getting cut. So they call me, but they can't send me any signs of what the script is. They don't want anybody to know because his other movie was out, and they don't want to give away what this movie is. So they sent me, once I said, yeah, I can do it, they sent me some sides that made no sense to me whatsoever. And it was a dialogue of a dad talking to a son and being a little pervy towards the son's girlfriend. And I get them. I go, oh, okay, it doesn't sound like what you described, but okay. So I go to the audition. I go down to Bloomhouse, and where they're auditioning, and go in there, and getting prepared and doing it. And it was actually really cool because an actor walked in who I've known for quite some time and always admired. I admire the work. I've worked with them. I've actually been directed by them, but it's kind of that next level of actor for me. And so to be in that room with them, could be really intimidating. But for me, it kind of lifted me up and went, I'm in this room with him. And it kind of gave me this extra little jolt of, all right, I got this, I'm in here with him. And so when they brought me in, I did the scene as it was written. And she goes, yeah, that was good. Could you give me a little more of the, kind of get out of here and don't be so nice or whatever. And I go, okay, it doesn't match the script, but okay. So I do it. She goes, yeah, I'm not, yeah, can you give me a little more? I said, do you want you kids get off my lawn? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, so you don't really want me to do the scene. You just want me to use the words and do the you kids get off my lawn guy. And they went, yes. And I went, oh, okay.
You just sent me that.
So I went back. And so it was like an improv game where you do happy, you do the song Happy Birthday, but you throw a different emotion to it, or you play, you do a scene, but you can only use gibberish, so it doesn't matter. Or you use a song lyrics, but and then they'll switch and do a different emotion. So it's just doing that. It didn't matter what the words were. It was all about the emotion. And so it became really, really fun to then play with that in the room. And it just so happened at the time I had that really cheesy mustache. Which, oh yeah, it looked absolutely great, and they loved it, and they said, "Do not shave the mustache. Whatever you do, don't shave the mustache."
So
yeah, it's just a full up paintbrush right on my face, and so it was great. And then got the gig. Finally, got the sides of what it was once we booked the gig, and then went to go shoot it. And because Shahadi had to play both parts, it took 2 nights to shoot this. So one night she's in, she's in the little girl, and they have to do all the car stuff with her stunt double. So the stunt double gets up on the car, Michelle is her name, and they gets up on the car and they do that. And plus she has a stand-in to do the other part. So there's 3 of them now running around, which is really creepy, running around, and they do that scene. And then we just picked up where she slides off the car and I step in, hey, I'm talking to you. It's that little bit right there. And we do that. And then we do the part where I get stabbed and Shahadi's running towards the camera. And it's just me, and it's great because I'm in this residential neighborhood just screaming my lungs out. And it was really, really fun to be able to do that and to play this scene and do that and go back and do it again. And we do that night. And a side note is at the end of the night, when we wrapped, all the lights go out. We're in this dark residential area, and all the crew is walking around with flashlights, and I'm picking up my stunt bag and getting my stuff. And all of a sudden the crew starts yelling all these lines out that I had been doing. So they're just, because it was so much fun. It was just fun to all of a sudden have this kind of cathartic, get the hell out of my life, doing all this. So they're yelling out that. So go back. And then the next night we come back and Shahade is dressed in the other outfit. And we have to go back and shoot all that stuff again. And then we pick up my stuff of me coming all the way in. And that's really, really fun, where we started with the dialogue as written. So I started there. I did that bit of business, and it was a bit too mean. And part of that was, and we saw it, and we changed the cameras around. And so Jordan came over and said, "Well, try doing this," And so we did it again. He said, "Okay, this time, do give me more of a what the yeah." Come on, man, give me a little more of that. Because what was happening was, if I come out and I'm too mean and I'm too yelling at a little girl who's in trouble, then the audience wants me to die.
Yes.
Right? They don't care about me. And my whole job in that movie is to show up and show how dangerous these people are. Mm-hmm. To what extent will they go? Right? So they're already mad at the family, and they've hit them with bats, and they've chained them up, and they've done this kind of stuff. But how bad is it? And then when you see that a complete stranger, they don't care about me, we're all in trouble. Before it was the family was in trouble. Now we're all in trouble. So that's my job, to move the danger along. Somewhat, he's a little bit like it. He's like you said, how did you do your little skill? What were you doing walking out of your house and doing that? And so that's where we kind of came is to this kind of, oh, come on, man. Yeah, what the what are you doing? To do that. So we did that a bunch of times and a couple changes. And what was really cool is Jordan came over and he said, okay, I think we got it. I think that was really, really great. And he looks at me and he goes, I mean, unless you want to try something. And that's like, what? As an actor, you go, what? That's really? Yeah, of course I do. So we go back and we do it. And so I tried something else and I did something, and so it was fun to be able to play, especially as somebody who's on the film for only a couple of days, it doesn't take too long to shoot this, for them to give me that, to say, go ahead and do it. And again, that's that from his sketch background, from his improv background, to say, let's see what happens organically. Same as Bob or same as Conan, that kind of, let's see what happens organically. Let's see what we can create here. Maybe there's a hidden diamond, a hidden jewel in there. So really, really fun.
Just a quick, I was gonna say, just a quick side note was one of the things I noticed, that the character, like you said, the young lady, she was a runner, and so to me it was a more methodical thing to me. Like, she just didn't kill you, like even you said, like she took out your Achilles. She only knew how to run, yeah. So she was demobilizing you to her mindset. So
well,
to me,
I have a theory that I'll touch on in the episode about how the tethered can't kill. They can only kill the people that they're tethered to. So I like that you confirmed that.
She couldn't kill me.
Yeah, he did, because he said you
confirmed it for him. He did not confirm
really
that.
See it in the shot, but he said that, she did not off him. Yeah. But I'd love a character like yours in the that. You have such a great character in the movie, because your character is my favorite character in horror films. Like the guy that's annoyed that he's in a horror film. Like, he doesn't acknowledge the fact that this is supposed to be scary. He just comes out like, what the f-? Like, this is inconvenience to me. And you kind of already, you greatly covered my next question of how you landed on that character and how that character became who he was, because he is this guy that he's an asshole, but he's an asshole that you enjoy to watch.
What would you do if you walked out and they were, the neighbor's kids were up on your car? You can't. Yeah. You can't be too mean to them, but you also got to say, hey, man, don't get up on people's car. That's my Cadillac there. That's my big gold Cadillac.
What are you doing? Get out of here.
It was right up there with the this is what happens when you f*** a stranger in the ass on Big Lebowski. As far as car
I was not
scenes
thinking
go,
that whatsoever.
Randall
on the same page that I did not think.
Here's a really fun one. If you're into that movie, here's a really fun kind of in-depth thing of how there's a real surface level to this movie where you just sit there and you're scared by it. There's scary scenes. He does some great stuff where the Kubrick thing of putting the character right in the middle. Actually, when we shot that, there was a couple times where we shot it where Shahade ran straight at camera. So she's right there and you can see me in the background, but she's centered. So it has that kind of really cool focus. But the next scene is Lupita doing this. So you can't go from that face to that face. So they cut that. But one of the things that's really cool is when you start getting into the layers is that when the lead character is a little girl and she gets pulled down into the underworld down there, and she's kind of walking around and you see all these couples and you see all this stuff. And even when she's a normal little girl and they're walking through the fair, to the carnival, the park there, there's a character there who is named Dawn, who is the younger me sitting there enjoying French fries with his girlfriend. And that's the kind of depth that he looked at in creating this, is that people exist in both worlds. And so they named that guy that's Don right there. That's the guy who we're going to see later on.
What was it? I know Jordan Peele is that awesome moment where he gives you the opportunity to improvise, to try your own thing. So I already know that the answer, what was it like working with Jordan Peele, was excellent. But can you elaborate on that interaction a little bit more about what that collaboration was like?
Oh, it was awesome. It was more of a conversation than it was directing. And more of him, instead of saying, do this, hey, can we try this? What do you think about this? And having that kind of conversation. And that was really, really cool to have that kind of respect given to me, especially again, there's that kind of perceived notion of stunt people not being able to act. So to have a director say that, hey, what do you think about this, or how about doing that? But then on the other stuff that I watched him do the same thing. I watched how he worked and how he kind of created. And most of the time, the director's really focused on what's the picture, how does the camera, where's the camera, what's the thing. But he always took the time to kind of check in with the actors and the stunt people, and even the people that were the body doubles. Hey, how about this? How about doing that? And really like to kind of collaborate on that stuff. That seemed to be where he really enjoyed doing. And he laughs all the time, and after every take is excited.
One of the things I was going to ask is, well, you actually answered one of my questions. Were there any particular things you remember from set? And that whole them chanting your lines things really takes the cake. So what I was going to ask is, one thing I've noticed is that Jordan Peele's films beg for interpretation. So what was your interpretation, just as a fan of watching the film, of what Us meant to you?
It is interesting, and I've read so many comments from what it is, and of different people's talking about it. I think there is, like I said, there's a real surface element to it where it's just a really good kind of psychological thriller that creeps me out. My parents came to see, they actually come out from Vermont here and wanted to go see the movie, and I said, no, you don't. And they went to see it, and we went to go see it. And then after my scene was done, my mother leaned over to me and says, was that it? Are you done? I said, yeah, I'm out of the movie. She said, okay, because it was too scary. It was too scary. So to even get into depth about what the movie's about, she didn't even have a chance. It was already creeped her out, and she would love that kind of stuff and that kind of layering, but she creeped her and my stepfather out. So they weren't going to stick around for that. So I don't know. I think there's so many layers about society, and there's layers about different people's experience within society, both racially and culturally and economically, that I think that it's one of those movies that you can look out through your own prism, and like most good art, can pull what's meaningful to you. And if you want it to just be another scary story, I think that's great. And it's kind of like Get Out. If you want to watch Get Out, just have it be a movie that creeps you out, that's great. If you want to see it as a movie that talks about kind of the racial divide, or what happens to people when they try and go into other cultures and other communities, sure, but it's also a really good scary movie. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what good art does. I think that's what good music does. You can pull and just go, oh, this song is really, really great, or wow, that really talks to me.
Any great film or great album invokes conversation. Like you say, you take what you want from it. As long as it invokes conversation, then it has done its job as the artist should have intended.
But if anybody says that it's not deep, or he doesn't have me, this is what he sent everybody in the
dope.
It's a big book. It's that thick, and it's all pictures. And then there's like writings about different stuff, and it's just fascinating, and it's all about that, and it's all about I went away. It's all about the images and the story, and
one of the questions I did want to ask is, of course, you're a stuntman, you're an actor, but I lean on the acting side. What is some of the advice you can give someone that is younger, older, who just wants to do this? What advice would you give them just to kind of get on the journey that you're on and to get started?
Well, I think, my wife and I, we talk about this all the time, and it is that once you decide that you're an artist and you're living the life of an artist, that's the thing. Keep working towards that. Keep hustling. Every day is you can call it the grind, but I don't know if it's the grind. I think it's just the life. I think it just is what you do, and so make living the life of an artist a habit. Make it a habit. Make it like, if there are things that you need to do for your craft, if it's played the piano, or if it's as an actor or an editor or whatever it is, make it as much of a habit as brushing your teeth at night. You can't go to bed until you brush your teeth. Same thing with this. You have to do your work every day. You have to apply to your craft every day. And whether it's the business side or the artistic side, keep feeding that. And then also, back to the beginning, the failures are important. The failures are important. They teach you where you're supposed to go. And whether that's in science, or whether that's in dance, or whether that's in art, or whether it's in sports, those failures are important. That's what shows you the right path to go on. That shows you, that's how you get better. The getting to the point where you can't get it wrong. Not getting to the point where you can just get it right, but get it where you can't get it wrong, where you're confident in doing it every time. That if I got called tomorrow and they said, we need you to show up on Conan and we need you to do a sketch, I go, cool, I'm there. I'm not nervous about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to go do my job. And that's the way both myself and my wife work. And that's what we talk about. And if we get ahead of ourselves, we remind each other, hey, this is the gig. This is what we try and do. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
You are currently working on NCIS. You have the virtual special coming up with Centasia.
Yeah.
Can you let folks know where they can find you to follow your work, and also again how they can get tickets to watch Centasia?
Oh, let's see. Centasia is Centasia.com. So SANTASIA. Santa Asia is really what it looks like. Centasia.com. And you can see some of the short films that we've done, some of the parodies that we've done in the past, and our animation. And there's different things. And so this year we're taking the stage version. And this is really cool because we've been able to do this show off Broadway and take it off Broadway in New York. We were on the same street as Hamilton. We're the second best show on the street. We would have won the Tony, but it's all political. It's just politics. So we did that for a couple of years, and now to be able to, unfortunately but fortunately, film a bunch of our stuff and be able to create this kind of special. There's still people who it's part of their year. It's like watching Frosty on the TV. They need it, and so we normally do sold out houses here in Sherman Oaks, California. But this year we're going to put it online, so there'll be links of how to do that. NCIS, I don't know. I'm shooting that this week, so I'll be getting the haircut to match the NCIS folks. So I get the haircut on the set. We'll see what that comes out.
Well, congratulations on all your success, and to be the second best show on the same street as Hamilton is no small feat. So
those damn politics, man. Hey, we'll vote for you next time, man. Listen. If we didn't say it, man, listen. Please let the family be safe. We know you didn't know us more than 10 days ago. We appreciate you taking out the time to come be a part of this ever evolving show.
Absolutely.
Listen, much success to your show. We'll be checking you out, and we'll let everybody know where they can find you. And again, thank you for taking the time out to visit us to TTFT.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. You guys stay safe.
Yes, thank you.
You too. Take care. Find us in all these links. It's coming up right now.